Hello and welcome to a review of the new-ish Toyota Fortuner. Yes, Toyota have just updated the Fortuner. It has a new face and everything else is the same. Thank you for watching this review of a Toyota Fortuner. I'm joking, I'm going to tell you some more stuff. Dream, search, drive. Cars.co.za.
No matter how big or small your car is, you can still save $420 per month. Budget, the official insurer of good South Africans.
Part of this substantial upgrade to the Toyota Fortuner for the 2023 model year is that you now get two-tone leather. So you get this sort of red thing happening on the door and on your seats. And as far as the cabin goes, yeah, that's it. That's what you get. On the outside of the car, there are two new color palettes available. They're called black and white, and you can only get those on the 2.8 liter models. So in terms of aesthetics, all of the changes have been concentrated on the face of the car. There are new lights, there's a new grille treatment, and I must be honest, it actually looks really good. It really does. Like, it's a big improvement, I think, on the looks of the car. I really like it. Makes the Fortuner look a bit more purposeful, a bit more aggressive, like it has a bit of a better stance. Oh, and the indicators now are progressive. They do this. Like that. This is a nice touch. So, what is there really to talk about here? Well, we haven't had a Fortuner on our channel for a really long time, so we thought we would take this one out and give it a proper shakedown. Under the bonnet, you've still got the 2.8 and the 2.4 liter engines. I'm in the 2.8, and it's been beefed up, so now that it produces 150 kilowatts and 500 newtons. Now that puts it directly in line with its fiercest rival from Ford, which is a 2 liter bi-turbo, and that puts out 154 kilowatts and 500 newtons. So it used to be the case that if you bought the top spec Fortuner or the top spec Hilux, you were actually quite down in power compared to its rivals, and that is not the case anymore. And let's go straight from engines into the pricing. So you can get into a Fortuner for 653,000 Rand. You can order a manual 2.4, but you can't order a manual 2.8. You can only have it with this good old-fashioned slush box over here, which still has that old automatic, you know, like Tetris kind of thing to get down into drive, which is old. However, the top spec VX 2.8 4x4 model is now over 900,000 Rand. 915,000 Rand for a top spec Toyota Fortuner. But what's so interesting about the Fortuner range is that if you look into the sales stats, the best selling Fortuner is this one, the 2.8 VX, the top spec, the granddaddy, the most expensive one. This is the best seller. And I think that goes a long way in telling us how much South Africans really do value the Fortuner nameplate and the Toyota nameplate. And one of the reasons why I think South Africans are so keen to spend this much money on a Fortuner, when there are genuinely better products out there, I think, is that you get a lot of your money back when you come to trade in or sell the car. The depreciation on the Fortuner is very light. You get a lot of your money back. So yes, you're spending 900k up front, but then when you come to upgrade, probably to buy another Fortuner, you get a good chunk of that back. The reality is that Ford is really gunning for Toyota's top spot in this segment, and they have gone all out with the Ford Everest. However, because of the pricing in the Ford Everest and the size of it as well, Ford says that that is now a Prado rival, and we are due a new Prado fairly soon. I think the current Prado has been on sale in some way, shape or form, I think since 2013, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a very old model. To be honest, it can't really hold a candle to the Everest in terms of sort of, you know, modern luxuries and sophistication. So yes, while I do agree with Ford that the Everest has potentially moved up a segment, I think for the average South African consumer, they look at the Fortuner and the Everest as really close rivals. Now don't get me wrong, the Fortuner is not unsophisticated, but the Everest really has stepped up the game in terms of the cabin and the exterior looks as well, and also the ride quality. But in the Fortuner, I don't think you're getting shortchanged necessarily. Yes, you don't have satellite navigation in the system, but you do have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and that sort of sorts out that problem. So that's great. And in terms of the rest of the car, the sort of refinement of the car, there was a big upgrade to the suspension for the 2021 model, and that has been carried over into the 2023 model. And it really did make a big difference in the way the Fortuner felt out on the road. Look, you can still feel that this is a bakkie underneath. You still get a little bit of that chassis jiggle, but it's definitely nothing that you couldn't live with. Now, while nothing has really changed in the interior, it still remains a very well appointed back seat, or actually this is the second row of seats technically in a Fortuner. So a few nice things to point out. You've got a 3-point harness for the center passenger. You've got this fancy drink holder which comes out of the center armrest. 2 USB ports down here, and they are the type C. So those are quite functional. You've got a 100 watts 220 volt plug down here, but it's just a 2-pin. I don't know why a lot of manufacturers don't put a South African plug point there when they put a 220 volt, and I've always wondered why. You've got shopping hooks here. That's quite useful as well. The rear passengers have their own aircon control. They can set their own temperature and put it in an automatic program with air vents over here for themselves as well. And then these seats fold forward on rails, so you can make more space for the rear passengers or more boot space. And then traditionally, these would tumble forward and get out of your way, so you could get into there, or you could make a massive load area with the rear seats folded up to the windows. That's some pretty good back seats. Once you open the electric tailgate on this top spec VX model, you will encounter the boot area. And this has been the subject of much debate in the 4x4 and adventure lifestyle world. And that's because in this segment, this is the only car where the rear seats, the third row, fold up against the windows. Now, in other cars, such as the Everest and the Mitsubishi, for instance, the rear seats fold into the floor. And what that means is that you lose quite a lot of boot height. So my point of view on this debate is that this setup actually works. You get a massive boot and you still get your third row of seats as well. Yes, they are a little bit of a faff. You have to unhook that, then make sure that the legs are out and clip that down, and then fold this up as well. And your rear passengers don't have much. They've got air vents, but they don't have drinks holders, for instance. But you've still got a bit of boot as well behind this third row of seats. So Toyota have stuck to this formula forever. I don't see them changing it. You either love it or you hate it. It does have some pros and cons, but in my opinion, it works. This car has been on sale since 2016 now, and yes, there's been lots of upgrades which are basically designed so that us car journalists keep writing about the Fortuner and keep it in the news. But there are things which are starting to look very dated in here. This screen, for instance, the graphic resolution's pretty low. It's also quite a small screen. And then your aircon down here is just this old LCD panel. But I've always sort of felt that Toyota owners don't actually care about any of this. In fact, I actually think Toyota owners, when they see this ancient clock over here, which is the same clock that I have on my Lexus from 1996 and which probably existed 20 years before that, do you know what I think they see? I think they see reliability. I think they see a less complicated car with less to go wrong. And I really do think Toyota banks on that. So if you're looking for the most modern, up-to-date cabin, the Fortuner is not for you. But then again, at the end of the day, we know these cars are pretty much bulletproof, and that's why people buy them. In terms of safety though, this is well spec'd and very much up to date. You've got 7 airbags including curtain and driver knee airbag as well. You've got traction control, EBD and electronic stability control as well. So a decent suite of safety features, that's for sure. In terms of your backup, you're looking at a 3-year warranty, 100,000 kilometers, which is one of the shortest on the market. You get 4 years with a Ford, for instance, but you can extend it at the point of purchase. And in terms of your service plan, Toyota actually counts their services in terms of number of services and not years. So you get a 9-service, 90,000 kilometers service plan with intervals of 10,000 Ks, which actually is quite a short interval. And make sure you stick to it so that you can hang on to your warranty. So that is your backup when it comes to the Toyota Fortuner. These days, everyone is, of course, very concerned about fuel consumption, and the Fortuner is doing all right. For a car this size with this much power, we're averaging 9.6 in the real world. That's mostly town driving and traffic. It'll definitely get better on the open road. And I think if I cast my mind back in the new, I drove the V6 Everest, so that was obviously definitely thirstier than this. But under 10 to the 100 for a car this size, the diesel this size, is pretty decent. Your tow rating is still at 3.5 tons, which is why a lot of people buy these cars, so you can tow your horse inside of your caravan with the boats at the back. And it does feel like it can do it. I mean, you've got plenty torque under your right foot here. For me, Toyota often doesn't have the best car in the segment or the most modern car in the segment or offer the same sort of tech and toys that some of the other brands offer. But that's not really what people are buying here. You're buying reliability, toughness, and of course that resale value. And I think for those reasons, yeah, Toyota's not really going to struggle to sell Fortuners, are they? So I wonder how long they'll stretch this model out for though. I mean, if it's on sale since 2016, we're in 2023 now, it's already 7 years. Is there a new Fortuner coming? Maybe.
Are you busy trying to decide between 2 cars, 3 cars, 4 cars, 5 cars, 6 cars? We have an excellent compare tool on our site which will help you make sense of all the different pricing and all the different specs. You'll find it on our main site as well as in our app. It's super slick, it's easy to use, it's highly detailed, it's constantly updated with the latest information and pricing, and I can guarantee you it'll make your life a ton easier. Check it out on our website, link in the description below.
Cars.co.za.
A lifetime guarantee on all repairs is a lifetime of sidestepping, tackling and modeling your speedos happily. Budget, the official insurer of good South Africans.